Hi everyone. Today we're going to go through the very first lesson on Autodesk Inventor. We're going to basically take what we've been learning with sketching 2D sketches and learn how to do that digitally through a CAD program, and then take that 2D sketch and turn it into a 3D object. So that is our goal for today, just the basics. Hopefully you already have Autodesk Inventor downloaded. If you do, you should have an icon on your desktop that says Autodesk Inventor Professional 2020. If you do not have that icon, you should be able to go into your search and type in what you're searching for at the bottom, Inventor, or maybe click on your Windows button, your Windows icon, and find Autodesk where it says Autodesk Inventor 2020. If you open that file, you should be able to find Autodesk Inventor, that icon. And then you can drag it and drop it onto your desktop to create that shortcut. So it will take a while for yours to load up. Sometimes it can take 3 or 4 minutes for the computer to load Autodesk Inventor for the first time. Mine has been on a couple of times today, so it's going to load fairly quickly. Don't be surprised if your Inventor takes 3 or 4 minutes to load. So once we click on it, you'll see this screen. You should see this screen. If you see the screen, then it's been installed correctly. And watch the little white bar down here below the picture. It should gradually move from left to right to show that it is in fact loading the program. If it gets stuck like this for 5 or 7 minutes, then something happened with the install and we're going to have to reinstall the program. If that happens, then you and I will need to walk through this possibly via a phone call or a video chat. I will create a video on installing Autodesk Inventor. I'm hoping to do that this afternoon and hopefully have that ready to go when you need it. I've got to wait to get my wife's computer so I can install it on hers and record me doing it. Anyway, here's what Inventor will look like when it fully opens. This is the home screen. Now, I'm sure over the next few days I will be getting rid of this home screen for me because I don't need it. But for you guys, it does show you the 4 main types, or the 4 types of files that we can create. We can create part files, we can create assembly files, we can create drawing sheets, and we can create presentation files. So these are the types of things we're going to learn how to do over the next few weeks. Here we see the different projects that I've been working on: 2018 Puzzle Cube, Auto Blocks, Inventor Electrical Project, several other puzzle cubes, Inventor Skills from Unit 5. We're going to go through a lot of that. I'll show you how to create these file folders, which is one of the first things we'll do when we get into creating a project. And then, last but not least, down here we have files that have been created, and they'll just be listed here, the ones that you've been using or the ones that you've been creating. If you click on the pen to the corner, it goes into your pen files, which would be the ones that are most important right now. So, we don't have any files. You haven't created anything, so you probably don't see anything down here. Let's go ahead and create our first part. We're going to choose Part File. And I'm going to click on it one time. And you should see at the very bottom of the screen, it should say Loading, and it'll run through a bunch of different aspects, a bunch of pieces of programming code that is loading. It does take a minute. Don't click it 3 or 4 times, because then you're going to be loading 3 or 4 instances, and that just eats up your computer resources. So make sure you only click it once. Give it time to load. So you end up here. We have this large ribbon at the top with all of these buttons and all of these terms that you aren't familiar with yet. We have tabs, the 3D model tab, the sketch tab, the annotate tab, and so on. What we want to focus on today is simply creating a 2D sketch and turning it into a 3D model. So there's the two terms I want you to be familiar with. The difference between a sketch, here's the sketch tab, and a 3D model. Sketches are 2D, models are 3D. That's a good way to think about it. So when we click on Start 2D Sketch, just click that picture, we end up with this image, and this is our geometric plane system. So if you recall in algebra, you did sketches where you had an x-axis and a y-axis, and that was what we call the xy plane. That's this plane right here, the xy plane. So this is like a sheet of paper. It has width and it has height. There are other planes that we can draw on. We can draw on the other vertical plane. And if we look down here at the very bottom, this one's called the YZ plane. It contains the y-axis for height, and it contains the z-axis. Now, for those that haven't had geometry, you may not know what the z-axis is. Earlier in the year, we talked about how from bottom to top is height, from left to right is width, from front to back is depth. So the z-axis is from front to back. So this contains height vertically and front to back horizontally. So this is our YZ plane. The third plane is this flat plane here. It's horizontal. It's the XZ plane. It has X width and it has Z for front to back, Z for the depth. So I always, almost always anyway, choose the XY plane to get started. And now we see the x-axis and the y-axis. Now, we're going to learn a lot of these sketching tools up here, but for today, all we're worried about is drawing a rectangle. So I'll let you on your own click on some of these different, like rectangle. You can go all the way to bottom, polygon, and you can change how many sides you want it to have. You can do the line tool and make splines. You can do circle tool and make ellipse. We're just going to draw a rectangle. So I click on the rectangle button. It should turn blue. And then I'm going to click the upper left corner. I'm going to click the lower right corner. And there's a rectangle. Not too hard. Now imagine this rectangle is the profile of the little wooden blocks that we were measuring in class. So those wooden blocks were supposed to be 0.750 cubed. So if that's the case, and I want this to be a little wooden block, I need to change the measurements. Right now, the dimensions of the height, that dimension is 4.689680. That's not correct. So I'm going to type in, it's highlighted in blue, I'm going to type in 0.750 and hit enter. Now my height is 3/4 of an inch. Now notice it also adjusted the width. It kept it in proportion. So now I need to dimension the width. Right now the width is 1.214 inches. I want to change that 0.750. Enter. And now I have a square. And that square is 0.75 by 0.75. That's what I want. Oh, by the way, I'm using my mouse wheel to zoom back and forth and zoom in and out. You can try it on your little mouse pad on your computer. If we were in class, I would hand you mice. I bought a bunch of mice that you plug into your computer because mice are super helpful with this. Unfortunately, we're not in class. So we'll just have to do the best we can do. If anyone has any suggestions about the easiest way to zoom in and out with your keyboard or with your little mouse pad, let me know, and I'll create a little help tips or something like that, and maybe we can share that on one of our little virtual meetings that I hope to do with Google Meet. You'll get more information on that and Canvas probably tonight, Thursday night. I would like to do one on Friday, but we'll see. Back to what we were talking about. Here we have our square. My sketch is finished, so I just click the green check mark, Finish Sketch. Now the sketch is done. You'll notice that it rotated the sketch. So let's rewind. Up here, your best friend up here is the back arrow. Undo. I'm going to undo once. And then it didn't go back to where I thought it was going to do. So what we have to do is go over to this little cube in the upper right and click the word front. And that rotates it back around to the front. So the reason I'm doing this is because I want you to see this little cube in the side here. This is the front view. If I rotate the cube, clicking on the arrow or clicking on this edge of the cube, I can rotate it. And there's the right side view. Now this is a two-dimensional sketch, so I don't really see anything. There's not a side to look at. Here's the back, here's the left, and here's the front. Now, what's going to happen when I click Finish Sketch, I think it should rotate it to this view. And notice what that's doing. That's going from letting you see the front, what we call a projection, to changing it to just the corner view, which we call isometric. So this is the isometric view. You're looking at it from this corner. Remember we talked about the isometric paper and the isometric view? You're looking at a corner, and then this angle here is the same as this one here and here. We talked about that before. So I'm going to finish sketch, and here we are in isometric view. I like isometric view when you do extrusions, when we turn it from a 2D sketch into a 3D model. Having it in isometric view is best. So make sure we've clicked on the corner, make sure it's set into isometric view, and then we click the word or the button here, extrude. Now, when I click extrude, the computer is going to use its intelligence, and it's going to predict what you want to do. It's going to assume that because you created a square, you now want to extrude that square into a box. So we're going to click extrude. And it did. It selected the square in light blue and then extruded it outward to the left. Now you'll notice the distance. If this is supposed to be a cube and you have a height of 0.75 and a width of 0.75, what do you think the depth should be? 0.75 is correct. So we're going to change distance A over here in our menu to 0.75. I typed it in, click OK. This, ladies and gentlemen, is your first 3D model. We have just modeled the wooden cubes. And I've modeled it once, but we had 27 cubes. I don't have to model it 27 times. I can copy the model if necessary. Okay, well, I would like for you to experiment and explore some of the sketching options. And I'll show you how to do that again. Start sketch. Oh, well, we need to get rid of this. So I'm going to close that part. I don't need it anymore. I'm going to start a new part. Start sketch. Choose a plane. And now draw. Here's a circle. I'm going to leave it like that. I drew a circle. Fantastic. Finish sketch. Extrude that circle. What happens when you extrude a circle? It becomes a cylinder. And then you can change the size.